Chapter 3, The Interrogation in Doubt, South Salem, Warehouse District Underground Room. Tuesday, 3:42 a.m. The bulb above Saul's head flickered like a dying pulse. It wasn't much of a room, concrete slab walls, streaked with old water stains that looked like bleeding wounds. The smell was something between rust and mildew, soaked into the very bones of the structure. A dented stainless steel drain sat centered beneath his feet, like an open throat waiting for what was coming. His wrists were chained to steel eyelets bolted into the floor. The shackles bit into skin that was already raw from the last round of questioning. The chair beneath him was welded in place, tilted slightly off level, just enough to make his spine ache after hours of sitting. His left hand was wrapped in gauze, the blood still soaking through. The pain where his pinky had been was sharp, but duller now. Phantom. His left ear stung like someone had poured gasoline on the wound. That one still wept blood in small threads down his jaw. But he sat up straight, breathing slow, silent. The door opened with a groan of rusted hinges, and Marco stepped inside. Marco Two-Fist Morelli, underboss, executioner, judge and jury. He wore an immaculate navy suit, the cuffs rolled back just enough to keep the fresh blood off the silk. A cheap gold chain rested around his neck, glinting under the pulsing green glow of the desk lamp. Marco smiled like a man offering condolences at a funeral. "You know, Saul," Marco said softly, voice smooth like old bourbon, "there was a time I thought you were the best thing that ever happened to this organization." He paced slowly, circling the chair. The heavy silence between his words was worse than the words themselves. "You were reliable, efficient, discreet." He leaned down, cold. His hand reached out and gently patted Saul's shoulder. "And I loved you for that." Saul said nothing. His lips were cracked and dry. The last water they'd given him had been hours ago, maybe days. He'd stopped counting. Marco's tone darkened slightly. Not quite anger. Not yet. But now here we are. He gestured vaguely to the chains. 3 shots, 3 failures, 3 excuses. Saul's voice came low, rough. "They weren't failures." Marco chuckled. "A short clip thing. No, 7 dead birds, a bottle full of bullet fragments, and a goddamn delivery van. Forgive me if my math feels off." He paused in front of the table now, resting both fists flat on the steel surface, his legendary fists. "You know who you're protecting, Saul?" Marco asked, voice tightening. "A rat, a coward. That man's about to sit in a courtroom and spill his guts. Do you even grasp what's at stake?" Saul didn't move, but his voice cracked faintly. "I never said I wouldn't kill him." Marco snapped the towel off his shoulder and threw it on the table. The blood on it was already turning brown. "Then why is he still breathing?" The words hung in the air like smoke. Saul tried to speak, but there was nothing left to explain. The calculations had all been flawless. The shots were true. The problem wasn't him. The problem was something else. Finally, he whispered, "Something's helping him." Marco's head tilted. The faintest trace of amusement crept back into his eyes, but it wasn't the friendly kind. "Oh, I see," Marco said softly. "We've crossed into the mystical now, have we? Bad juju? Hoodoo? Divine intervention?" He knelt, bringing his face inches from Saul's, his breath thick with garlic and old cigar smoke. "Tell me, Saul, is that what this is? God? Angels? You gone Catholic on me?" Saul's breathing quickened. "I'm telling you, I make the shots. They don't land." Marco's eyes narrowed. "You want me to believe that the universe itself is bending bullets out of the air?" Saul swallowed, his voice cracking. "I don't care what you believe." Silence. Marco stood up, adjusting his cuffs. "That's a problem, Saul, because I believe in one thing." He turned and snapped his fingers once. From the shadows behind the doorframe, Lenny entered, small, twitchy, carrying the camera like it was heavier than it should have been. Lenny always looked like a man who was 3 steps from cardiac arrest. He swallowed hard and fumbled to set up the recording. Marco gestured at the lens. "This is for the higher table. I want them to see your face." He leaned into frame, grinning like a game show host. "To my esteemed colleagues, here sits Saul, the best trigger I've ever employed. But apparently—" Marco's grin widened. He's found himself in the middle of a spiritual crisis. He paced slowly in the camera's view. He's had full clearance, ample opportunity, 3 clean shots, 0 hits. Instead, we got a graveyard full of birds, broken glass, and delivery trucks swerving into his goddamn kill zone. Marco gestured theatrically to Saul. Now, either Saul here has suddenly forgotten how to shoot straight, which I don't believe, or something unnatural is protecting our problem. He turned serious, voice dropping. Which brings me to our final attempt. One last chance. If Saul fails again, he made a slicing motion across his throat. We stop playing. He paused. And if it turns out there's really some divine hand interfering, he smiled again, then God better learn to duck. He waved Lenny out. The camera clicked off. Marco turned back to Saul one last time, his voice almost gentle. Don't fail again, Saul. Don't make me lose faith. Then he was gone. The door shut behind him with a sound like a coffin lid slamming. The overhead bulb buzzed once, then flickered. Saul sat in the heavy dark, sweat cooling on his skin. And behind his ragged breathing, deep inside that voice returned. Calm, inevitable. Not yet. He is mine.